guys, and welcome to my la la la.
That's okay.
Let it last long.
Don't stop. Just keep going.
Hi guys, and welcome to the show. What do you think of my t-shirt? What about this one? Do you guys want to learn how to make one of those t-shirts along with a few others? If so, let's get started. When we come back, I'm gonna show you how to make these designs plus a few others for your wardrobe. It might look intimidating now, but I promise you it's very easy. We're gonna start with a simple project and work our way up. So let's get started. I'm gonna show you the technique first. What you need is a t-shirt, a pair of scissors, this is a must, and a few things that would make your life easier, which is a marking pencil, light, white or light if you're using dark t-shirt, or regular pencil if you're using light t-shirt, and masking tape or any kind of tape just to guide you. I'll show you in a little bit, and also thread and needle, but this is optional as there are other ways to work around it. The way it works is we fold it in half. Let's say you want your cut to be in the center, right? You fold it in half, and that's where the masking tape come in. That helps to ensure the line is straight. And the little trick I learned a while ago, if you go like this against your jeans, it's gonna eliminate any extra glue that the tape might have and not ruin your fabric. So do that. We're gluing it a straight line, see? This way you can easily see the straight line, you don't have to mark it and you save your time. And then you start cutting. Just take your ruler and the marking pencil and mark whatever the same distance, and so on. But I think even little imperfections in projects like this add personality. So I don't like marking, I always go for. So once this is done, remove the tape, open it up. It should look something like this. Okay, so when we open it up, it should look something like this. And it's okay if some of them are not straight or perfect. We're gonna fold it. You start from the top, you take the first one, it goes over the second one. So when we get to the bottom, it looks something like this. And it might look a little weird when laying flat, but when you stretch it on the body, it should look something like this. So there are a few ways we can secure it. First one is you just take your needle and thread and sew a little dot here. The second one, which is the easiest, is you cut the last one like so, loop one of them through and tie a knot. And you can leave it like this, or you can cut the two tails we have. You can cut them off. Okay, so this is one way of looping, and here is the second one. There are only two. So the second one, we do the same thing. Fold it in half, wherever you want your line to be. Take a masking tape to do a straight line. Well, this time let's do it at an angle, but it works exactly the same way. Okay, and we start cutting, and I'm gonna do the wider ones this time. So it should look something like this. So the second way is you take the second strip, and instead of just looping it through the third one, you twist it first, like so. Then you take the next one, and if there's little ones, it might take a little maneuvering, but I promise you, once you get the hang of it, it's gonna be easy. You take the next one, you twist the next one, and you keep going until you reach the bottom. And in a second, I'm gonna show you what it should look like. And if you guys are familiar with crochet, this is the same technique. So the second one would look like this. Let me tie the knot. Okay, you see the difference? How one of them looks, and see the difference between the first one and the second one? You guys see the difference? This is the first kind, and this is with the little loops. This is the second kind. So it just changes the look. Okay, and when we come back, we're gonna start with the first t-shirt right here.
Who makes your clothes? How are they made? What are they made from? It matters. I'm Amber Valletta, and I'm joining the fashion revolution because I care where my clothes are made. On April 24th, I'm wearing my clothes inside out to honor the workers worldwide who've made my clothes and your clothes. Join me in this global campaign to revolutionize the fashion industry and wear your clothes inside out.
These moments of fire.
Okay, so we're all ready to start. We have a t-shirt, and if you are in between sizes, I suggest you get a bigger one because the twisting makes it a little bit smaller. So any plain t-shirt would do. This one is from Walmart, but anything would work. And we want the design to be in the back. So the front is simple and the back has all the elaborate detail. We take the back and fold it in half. And to make sure it's even, the good idea is you match the shoulder seams. Somewhere. Secure it with a pin so it doesn't move. And the reason being, this would make it easier to cut. So it's not gonna slip and it's gonna be even. And again, if you feel more comfortable with markings, you can do that, but I personally like the tape. I think it creates a perfectly straight line, making it super easy. We start from the bottom, cutting it, just cut straight parallel to the hemline. It adds to the uniqueness and personality of each shirt. Just make sure they're not completely off, like one of them is 1/8 of an inch and the other one is an inch, but if they're somewhat even, it'll work. Another suggestion is you have an option of cutting the neckline, because the neckline is something that doesn't stretch. Well, it stretches a little bit, but it doesn't have the same stretch as the t-shirt does, which means if we cut very close to the neckline, we would need to cut it off, otherwise it's going to be pulling. So in this case, we just won't get too close. We'll stop somewhere around here. Yeah, that looks good. Remove the tape. Remove the pins if you use them to secure. And it should look something like this. And from the top, starting with the first technique that I showed you, you take the first one, loop through the second one, Then take the next one, loop through, and then it's easy to do with 2 fingers, like, because it pushes them on either side at the same time. And you keep doing it until you reach the bottom. Okay, once you reach the bottom, I have a pin here. So you have an option of sewing these little strips together or tying a knot. For the sake of time, let's tie a knot. So I cut the last one in half. I don't like those little tails, so I'm gonna cut them off. Okay. And what makes these designs unique is the different combinations of different techniques in one t-shirt. Make a loop. Then third one, loop through, make a loop. And keep working your way to the bottom. If you have a crochet hook, you can use it for this purpose, but I know not everybody does. So, and everybody can do it with their fingers too. So it should start looking something like that. You can see that. You can push them towards the center, or you can pull them away. It's up to you. It's just a design preference. You can easily do it with your fingers, just like I did. And when we come back, I'm gonna show you how to use the same technique to make something for the fall. Okay, moving on. Can you guys tell that this is the same technique that we just did, but done horizontally? It looks completely different just by changing the direction. And let me quickly show you how to make this one. It's super easy. And for this t-shirt, well, you can see it's a tank top. And tank tops are done a little different. They're ribbed, especially the ones like this. So it's not a very good idea to cut them in this direction, because it's gonna fray way too much. So those are very good for cutting this way. So my cut is somewhere around the middle, which I guess roughly is here. So you fold it this way. We'll take our tape. And can you tell that there is a diamond shape here too, which would accentuate the waist a little bit? So we go from the center in one direction, and roughly the same from the center in the other direction. So it should look something like this. And make the first cut on either side of the center, just to make sure that you have one good long strip. And then go in either direction, like so. For the rib tank tops like this one, don't make cuts super narrow, because like I said, it's gonna fray. These t-shirts are made in a little bit different than the ones we saw before. But to be on the safe side, cut them fairly thick, at least ½ inch, like I'm doing right now. See how fast it goes? And plus the cuts are small, so this project you can do in 10 minutes. Remove the tape, and it should look something like this. See? Okay. Then starting from either side, it doesn't matter. You do the same thing we just did. You loop it through, then you loop it through the next one, and just keep going. It goes pretty fast. And the cool thing about it, it would make your visually your waist a little bit smaller because of the design and the style lines, which I think is pretty cool for anyone. Okay, so it should look something like this. So I went through the front, and without stopping, you move to the back. So you see, this is the side seam. So we're finishing with the front, and without stopping, we're just going to the back part of the t-shirt. And sometimes it doesn't work, and it's okay. Just pick up where it slipped. And this is the widest part, so we're reaching the center of the back. And when in the second, we're gonna go back to the beginning. And for this t-shirt, we don't stop and we just keep going. Okay. So we don't stop, we just keep going for the second loop, which is what you can see here, which is the second technique. You see those little loops we have right here? This is the second technique I showed you. Okay, so you loop and twist. The same thing, loop and twist. And it should look something, when you put it on your body, it's gonna look something like that. Which is what you see here. So you start on one side, go all the way around with this wide loop, all the way around without stopping. Then when you reach the beginning again, you do the same thing with the second technique with the loop in the center. Go all the way around. And then when you reach this side, I think you just sew these two together, or you can tie it like I showed you before. So when you get to the beginning, which in this case is also the end, you can just sew it together. Just do a few little stitches. And I'm using a clear thread just because it goes with any color. Makes my life easier. Just a few little stitches would be enough. And when you're done, you got yourself a new t-shirt in under 10 minutes. Okay, now we move on into something that you can wear in any season, fall, winter, something with a long sleeve. Okay, so here's a plain t-shirt that I bought at Walmart for $4. So see, fashion doesn't have to be expensive. And the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna cut off the neckline, like we did here. And so you just snip at the shoulder seams on either side. And this is something I don't want to fold. I want to do each layer separately, just to be on the safe side. And if you like a deeper neckline, you can absolutely do that. And I'm gonna cut off those checks too. And keep in mind, when you put it on you, the neckline is gonna stretch a little more than when you cut it. Keep this in mind when you're choosing how low you want it to be. Now the sleeves. I can do, and I think to save time, you can do both sleeves at the same time. But if you don't feel comfortable, you can absolutely do one and then the other. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna fold them symmetrical, like so. And then pin it in a few places just so they don't move. You don't have to do it, but it just makes a lot of things easier. So it should look something like this. And we're gonna cut the bottom of it. I'm cutting through all the layers, which we have 4 layers here. It should look something like this. Remove the tape, and we're gonna use the tape for the bottom as well. You don't have to do the bottom, you could just stay with the sleeves if you don't like the bottom, but I thought it would be another added element. So for the bottom, we fold it in half, like we previously did. You can use the same tape I just did. Put it. The length of them is relatively small, and if you make them super wide, it would be hard for you to loop through. And again, we are cutting through all the layers at the same time. And you take the big one. Don't mind that little opening. Take the big long cut that we did. Loop it through the second one. And just keep going like we were doing before. The second goes through the third goes through the fourth, and so on. Until you reach the bottom. Right? So when you reach the bottom, don't sew or don't cut anything just yet. We're just gonna pin it to secure for a few minutes while we're doing the little loops. Just secure it so it stays in place. Okay, now we're gonna do the same thing, but using those little loops that we did inside each big one. So they are thinner and there are twice more of those. So you just do the little loops, like so. So each of the big ones has two, right? See? So you loop through one first and through the second one again. And continue. You open it up, go through the first one and the second one. Again through the first one and the second one. So it should look something like that. And when you stretch it on your arm, it would look something like this. Do you guys recognize the shirt I'm wearing? Now it's time to move to a little more complex t-shirts. And essentially it's the same technique, we just use it either as a combination of the two t-shirts or use it in a circular motion like in this orange one, or this one is just a few different techniques within one shirt. But they're all pretty easy when you break it down into steps. So let's start with the orange one. And again, we have the same basic t-shirt. And the difference for this one is it's in a circular motion, which means that one side of it is wider than the other side. It's especially noticeable when you get to the center. Like this side will be smaller than that side, which means we can't cut parallel stripes anymore. But we're gonna work around it, don't worry. And you can make it any shape, I just like the swirl. Okay, that works. First thing is to trace it with something like chalk, or this is a water-soluble pencil, which means as soon as you wash the t-shirt, it's gonna completely go away. And the good thing is to put something heavy so it doesn't move, so your template doesn't move. So that works. And you just trace all the way around. The way I like to do it is to have little marks, and then when we lift up the template, we're gonna connect the dots just like so of the swirl. And you can't cut this folding, because in previous designs we could fold the fabric because they were all parallel to each other. In this case they're not. So the good idea is so the t-shirt is laying straight. Because those are circles, we can connect vertically and connect horizontally the dots. So let me show you what I mean. You see how those are completely not parallel to each other. So the easy way to deal with it is you can eyeball it, or you can mark. You mark the center of the circumference, which would be here, and then the center of the big one, and you connect them again. Like so. And then you just keep doing it. See how this one is still bigger than that. So you cut them in half again. And then you see if there is enough space here for one cut and then 2 more, making it 4 strips, you can do that. If not, just 3 would work. So like so, and like so. So eventually, when you cut everything, it would look something like this. And you see how all of those cuts are not parallel to each other, especially all the little ones we have in the center. You see how this side is much wider than this one, and this side is much wider than this one, but that's okay. They're gonna look the exact same way. And we start from the center. You can start from the outside edge, but I like the center better. And you keep working your way, just like everything else works the same way we did before. The only difference was the cutting part, because you need to account for the different circumference size. You keep working. Okay, so it should look something like this. You keep working all the way until it looks like this t-shirt right here. Then when you get to the end, you tie, you see I tied a little knot up here, which is not different from what we did before. Okay, so have fun, be creative with the t-shirt. I know you have a few in your closet. Keep experimenting. And next time we meet, I'm gonna take you on a tour to my sewing studio and we'll make something cool. Until next time, goodbye. This season on Design Your Life with Katya Avdeev. And if you want to own any one of my custom gowns, you can reach me at www.katyaavdeev.com or email me at info@katyaavdeev.com.